Welcome back to Pay Down Debt Solutions. I'm Jen, and I want to wish all those mothers out there a happy Mother's Day. That is what today is, and I want to thank those out there that sent me wishes, wishing me a happy Mother's Day. I really appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate you. So today, I want to talk to you guys more about mortgages. We get a lot of people asking questions. We get a lot of people with goals who are wanting to pay down their mortgage. They'll send us worksheets specifically asking about, paying down their mortgage and when they should attack paying it down, right? So we know that the mortgage is like the big elephant in the room, right? It's that big debt that most of us have, okay? And such as this big debt that we have, right? It's one of those things that takes the most of our wealth, okay? So it eats us up. And you have to clean up your financial house, though, before you want to take on that mortgage, unless you are able to do both at the same time. So that's what I want to talk to you guys today about, is when to go ahead and take on that mortgage along with your debts, and if you should. Also, other topics that I want to talk about today are, again, the repayment discussion. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about a student of ours that is stuck in a repayment plan. And I want to talk to you guys again about that because they are really predatory. Okay. And then I want to go into and talk to you a little bit more about student loans, because that leads us into our mortgage scenario today. So there are students of ours that, are currently working, but they still have student loan debt, and they're wondering, what to do about it. They want to take care of all of these debts, but they want to, or take care of their debts, but they want to do them all together and wrap them, all up. So let's talk about, that. Let's talk about when to do it, and what to do and how to do it, right? Well, we all know that on this channel, we teach velocity banking. Dan and I bring velocity banking to you. We bring it to you because we found ourselves in the same situation that most of you are caught in right now, right? You're working through the traditional banking system. You guys are making your payments and doing it just like we've always been taught, paying it out of that checking account. So you have money coming into that checking account. You're paying all your bills out of that checking account, and you're left at the end of the day with exhaustion, right? You're exhausted because your account is exhausted and you've been working all these hours and you have nothing to show for it, right? So there's nothing left at the end of the day. And if you've been able to contribute to your 401k, fantastic, because that's probably the only way that you're able to save right now. Do you guys know that the bankruptcies right now and the amount of debt that people are in are sky high? It is an epidemic. There is a lot of it. There are interest rates that are through the roof. And so if you're caught in that situation, if you're out there feeling tight because of that, this is the stop you want to make. You want to make the stop here and learn a different way, right? You want to learn a different way to bank, because that's what we teach. We teach velocity banking, and we teach it the pay down way. Now, talking about our worksheets here, we are sending out worksheets right and left, and we're happy to do that. If you guys want our worksheets so that you can work down your debt, by all means, just throw us a quick email and I'll send them to you. If you want us to work out a plan for you, you just send them back, okay? Send them back and let us know what your goals are so that we have a really good idea. The more information we know about what you're trying to do, the better plan we can make for you. But if not, that's what these videos are for, you guys. We're trying to pump these out to you with different topics, different things, and different ways that we think about things, so that you learn how to do this on your own. You don't have to have us do it for you. You can absolutely do this on your own. And in Dan's video the other day, he made a really great point, and I love that he said this. He said, we don't hold anything back from you guys. We don't hold a single thing back. We are showing you exactly what we do when we look at these plans and how we work them down, right? So sometimes people will write these great books, right? And they'll leave out that big secret. Or you'll buy, a plan to learn something new, maybe learn an online business, but there's one or two key factors that they're going to leave out so that you keep coming back. Well, that's not what we're about, you guys. We're teaching you everything we know so that you can take care of it on your own, all right? So let's get into today's discussions. Let's talk about when we can chunk down that mortgage, when we should do that. Let's talk about the repayment plan that we have a student that she found herself in, and I just want to warn you guys against this. And then let's attack and talk about those student loans, such as our scenario. Now, this scenario is not quite done. I will actually be adding some things to that. And as you can see, we do have a mortgage schedule here because we are going to get into that. All right, so one thing we are going to really discuss today is obviously these debt repayment plans that are out there. So we have a wonderful woman who has come to us, and she wanted us to take a look at her finances, and she has a couple things going on. One is she does have debts that are entered into a refinance program of some sort, okay, a debt repayment plan, all right, debt consolidation plan, however you want to look at it, all right. And two, she also has other credit cards and things that she is taking care of on her own. So she herself has two buckets going on, right? So she's got this debt repayment plan that she's entered some debts in, and they're supposed to be helping her in taking care of that. And then she's got other debts that she's trying to learn velocity banking with, and we're trying to help her out. Well, here's the situation, you guys. She's in this debt repayment plan, and they are taking money from her monthly. Okay. So what they do is they take your money and they collect it from you. All right. And all this is, and I kid you not, all this is a glorified savings account. It is helping you save money, because at the end of the day, when you read through all the fine print, which Dan and I have done, they pay nothing for you. Okay. They don't pay a single thing for you. They go in and talk to your the companies that you owe money to, right? They talk to them once they have trashed your credit, right? Because they're taking money from you and they're not paying a single penny. They're not paying a thing. They're holding it they're holding it in escrow for you. Okay, so they're holding it in this escrow account, and they haven't paid a single thing. They have supposedly negotiated some of these debts, although she has not seen any of that. It says every time she looks at her statement, it says repayment or settlement 0. Okay, they've settled nothing, but they've been collecting this money from her for 2 years. All right. Now she's paid in over $11,000. I think it's 11,700 and something to be exact. And yet her balance in that account is $8,800, 88 and some change. So you tell me what's going on here. They are taking their 25% off of the top, and they have literally done nothing for her at this point. So they do say that you can cancel out of the program, but it's going to cost her $2,200 to do that. For what reason? They've already taken money off of the top, right? They've already taken money off of the top from her. And then if she decides she's going to exit stage left, they're going to then make her pony up another $2,200. These companies are predatory. I know you guys are stressed. I know you're strapped, and I know you're feeling really pinched, and probably some of you are terrified at this point because I know I've been there, right? But don't do this. They're not going to help you. You are better off coming to channels like ours, not just ours, right? There's plenty of other channels out there that do amazing jobs talking about velocity banking, but I can guarantee you that velocity banking is going to help you. And I know velocity banking is going to help this wonderful student that we have as well. She is doing the right thing. She wants to take care of her debts. She doesn't want to walk away from them. She wants to do it. But at the end of the day, this company is making things so much worse on her. Had she been able to save up this money on her own and stick it in an account, she'd be better off. She'd be better off. Heck, she would be better off negotiating these debts on her own, you guys. And so we're taking a look at everything for her, and we're going to see what we can do to help her as far as that is concerned. Now, at the end of the day, if she has to, if she can't get out of paying the $2,200 and walking away, maybe she has to stay where she's at for now. I don't even know how you complete the plan at this point. It makes no sense. So you guys just be very, very careful and try not to enter into these programs, because I'm telling you right now, they are not doing a single thing for you. Okay. They're just not. So anyway, you have ways you can take care of your debts, right? Number one, you can velocity bank yourself out. I know you can do that. All right. So if you find yourself with a ton of these little itty bitty credit card debts, you guys, let's take a good look at it. Learn how to do this. Learn how to velocity bank your way. And I know you can take care of it. All right. You don't need to file for bankruptcy necessarily. You absolutely can't do it banking traditionally. That is not going to help you, but you can do it through velocity banking. You can do it through freeing up some cash flow for yourself. All right. Okay. So now I'll get off my soapbox about that. I'm sorry. I know I beat that to death, but I just have seen so much with it. And it's frustrating for me. It's frustrating for me because I feel for you. I feel so much for you when I watch this stuff happen. Okay. All right. And then we have student loans out there. And you guys, that's another thing. These student loans are eating you up. They are completely eating you up. They are another mortgage in some cases, right? They are so expensive that it's like another mortgage payment, okay? And so that's kind of like what's going on over here. Although it's not quite a mortgage payment, it is pretty high, and they still have pretty high debts. And what's even crazier is they've been in that for 8+ years, okay? They've been in it for 8 years and still owe a ton of money. So we're going to help them with that today, and we're also going to help them attack their mortgage, okay? So we will get into that in just a moment, but let's look at the question, when do I take on chunking down my mortgage, okay? So when do you do that? If you're in some debt, okay, and you don't have much cash flow, you're really not going to be able to take that on at this point in time, right? So you have to clean up your financial house before you can do that. And so there are going to be some ways you can do that. Number one is you can do it through velocity banking, and you can do that. If you can clean up your house pretty quickly, you can start to chunk down on that mortgage pretty quickly as well, right? So you also don't want to do it until, so when you can separate and walk away from, right? Walk away from wants versus needs, all right? So you guys, wants are going to derail you, right? It's that whole keeping up with the Joneses thing. When you think you need to keep up with everybody else, have the biggest and best house in the neighborhood, the biggest and best cars in the neighborhood, when you're worried about all those material things, that doesn't help you with the bigger picture, okay? So those are small and those are incidental. And there are times in our life, right, when we are like that, when we might be a little bit more selfish about, the things that we want. So when you are past that stage, that is probably a time when you can start really concentrating on your mortgage. Hopefully you can get there quickly, because the sooner you enter into a mortgage and the sooner you start working it down, the more you're going to save over time, all right? So the other thing is when you can make the sacrifice, okay, now, because it will be easier and more beneficial to your overall savings. Again, that is just like, when you enter into a mortgage, if you have to do that, right? So if you have to, or you want to purchase a home, and I don't like mortgages, but if you're going to do it, fine, do it and start velocity banking ASAP. Get it done quickly so that you can start chunking down on that mortgage. And if you can't get a home equity loan right away because you just purchased your house and maybe there's no equity to work with, guess what? I talk about them all the time. Those 0% cards out there, you can take a chunk using a 0% card, slap it down on your mortgage, and velocity bank your way out of that debt, right? And do it all over again, over and over and over. So you don't even need to have an equity line of credit to do it. It's helpful, absolutely, sure it is, but you can do it through a 0% credit card, and I've seen it happen. We've helped people with it. So let's get into some finer points here, okay? So you need to map out your finances, right? So with Paydown's 3-step strategy, that will help you, okay? So we talk about, so what is Paydown? Paydown is this company, right? It is our brainchild. It is what we did to get ourselves out of debt and to learn velocity banking and to velocity bank our way out. But there's 3 things you should do before you can really attack your plan, right? Because you have to, number one, you have to formulate it, okay? And how do you do that? Well, you do that through step number 1, which is organizing, okay? When you can get yourself organized and organize your bills, like Dan says, doesn't matter if it's on a piece of paper, a spiral notebook, an Excel spreadsheet, or some other kind of spreadsheet, it makes no difference so long as you know what you've got coming in and what you've got going out, down to the penny. At least do that once, you guys. At least do it once down to the penny, because I'll tell you what, you are going to have an eye opener. I have so many situations where we have students that send us back these worksheets and they say in the email back, they're like, wow, we had no idea we had all of this stuff going out. And the good news is they're like, we were able to scale some of it back because we realized we didn't need it all. But you guys are going to be surprised. You're going to be either pleasantly surprised, right? And sometimes not so pleasantly surprised, but there's fixes for that, because you're going to see the money that you're wasting that you don't need to waste. So when you get organized, okay, and you don't have to be organized all the time if you don't want to, but at least do it once. Have an idea of what is coming and going, and then live that plan. Try not to make too many adjustments to it. Live that plan and you're going to be just fine, okay? Because you're going to know what you can spend and what you should be spending on a monthly basis based on what's coming in and obviously what is going out. So step one, guys, the pay down strategy is to organize. Step number two, all right, that is to identify. And in step number two, you are identifying two specific things here. Number one, it's going to be the debt destroyer. And number two, it's going to be what your strategy is going to involve. Are you going to use one debt destroyer? Are you going to use two debt destroyers? What does that debt destroyer look like? Is it going to be a credit card? Is it going to be a line of credit, a personal line of credit, a home equity line of credit, a business line of credit? What is that beginning to your strategy? You guys are starting to formulate a plan. You're starting to knit together things to make your next step, which is implementing that plan, go smoother, right? So that's what we're doing here. And again, obviously, that third step is implementing your plan. So first, you're organizing everything that comes in and out of your household. Then you're going to identify your debt destroyer, your debt weapon. And then you're also going to be working out your plan and identifying what your plan is going to be. Third is implementing that plan, using that debt destroyer, and knowing how quickly you will get out of debt once you do so. All right. So I want to talk to you guys then about this student scenario that we have here. It is a vet and not a veteran, but a veterinarian and an accountant. Okay, it's a couple. And they have some student loan debt here and they have a mortgage. And what they wanted to do was see if they could roll them up together and start working on both of them, because for quite a few years, they did nothing but try to work on that student loan that they had. So they would like to clean up their house, okay? And so that's what we're going to help them do today. Now, you can also see that I have a mortgage schedule here. And so let's kind of separate this out so we can keep it a little bit separate here. Okay, so we're going to then be working with this today as well as working down their situation, right? Their scenario. Okay, so we have a vet, like I said, and an accountant, okay? And so their income is a very respectable income. It is $13,462. Their expenses are $11,797, which leaves them with a positive cash flow, right? So here's our cash flow. Now, again, I want to talk to you guys about this as well, because that is a very respectable income, right? I have seen people who have a $2,000 to $3,000 income a month have a better financial picture than people with, $13,000, $15,000, and $20,000 a month. All right. So I know you guys sometimes look at higher incomes and you say, how on earth can they be in this kind of debt? How do they do that? They have all this money that they could be working with. But you know what, you guys? The more you make, the more you spend, right? The less you make, typically the less you spend. But at the end of the day, based on our environment, right? Our environment in America, we know that we're struggling, okay? We're strapped. And so it doesn't matter if you make $20,000 or $2,000. Everybody feels the same way. And so these guys are feeling it to a certain degree, but they also know that they have some cash flow and they want to get out of debt. So we're going to help them. All right. So let's talk about their mortgage here. So their mortgage is currently at $589,833. Okay, so that's what their mortgage is at. Their monthly mortgage payment is $3,798. That is a heck of a mortgage payment. And their mortgage right now is at a 6.125%. It is for 30 years. It's a 30-year mortgage. All right, so we also know that they have a home equity loan here, okay, and that's for $98,112. We do know at this point that their home can appraise for $890,000, which means their loan to value at this point, okay, we can loan up to 80% of that loan to value, which is the 712, which we have up there, okay? So what we were able to do, and I'm going to talk about this before I get into their specifics, okay, is we were able to help them get a home equity line of credit for $122,000, okay? So they have $122,000 now as a home equity line of credit that they are going to then take care of this with, right? They're going to get rid of that home equity loan because loans are a 4-letter word, right? And a not so good one as far as I'm concerned. So we don't want those loans. We want to work with lines of credit. And you guys all know that. So here we are sitting with this mortgage for $589,833. Their payment is $37.98. It's at a 6.125 for 30 years. They, you know what? And their total payback amount, this is important. Okay, sorry guys, let me get that for you. Let me find it. Okay, so let's put it on here because I do have it. And I'm going to use a different color because that's what I have in my hand. So this is 742,272. So that's a heck of a payback amount, isn't it? That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money, right? That is a heck of a debt. So that would be when they term this out in 30 years, they are going to spend $742,272. That's what they're going to be spending on this mortgage, okay? And as you notice, that is more than their mortgage, isn't it? So you guys, interest is a big deal. And you don't feel that dollar amount today. You don't. But over time, your bank account is going to feel it because it's going to be empty, right? You're not going to have any money to speak of if we allow the banks and these mortgages to steal our wealth like that. You won't have anything left. So this is why when they come to us and they say we want to take care of our mortgage and our debts at the same time, we say, okay, we can probably do something to handle both of them pretty much at the same time. So now we know that our student loan here, they have a student loan for $56,126, all right? And that payment amount is $454 at a 6.325%, okay? That is what their interest rate is. This is a 25-year loan, okay? 25 years. They have 17 years left on that. And they're at, they still owe at this point $39,511 in interest to term this out over 25 years at this payment. So now you can see why they want to take care of that because they have $454 that they're going to be carrying with them for the next 17 years if they don't do something different, okay? So we have car 1 and we have car 2, and sorry, they got squeezed together. So car 1 here is $46,810, and it is at the payment on that monthly is $997, and it's at 5.6. It's a 5-year loan, and to pay that back, it's going to cost them $7,753. All right, car number 2, $37,642. It is at a payment amount of $713, a 5.2% interest rate. To term that out over 5 years again is going to be $5,186. And apparently I like fives because they're all over the board here. So now we have this home equity loan, right? Home equity loan. We talked about that. That's $98,112. We are going to be taking care of that debt, all right? And we look at this payment. That payment is $1,979. That's a big payment, all right? And that, again, like I said, it was 5 years, but they felt like they could handle it because they have positive cash flow. So they took it on, right? So they're at 7.8% on that. To pay that off, the interest that they're going to owe is $20,687. They have, and why does everybody have American Express lately? I don't know. Everybody I see seems to have an American Express card. But, so American Express here, $12,163. The payment on that is $355. It is at a 23%. American Express seems to be at this rate, and those that have it they seem to be 23, 27, or 29. That's what I'm seeing with American Express, okay? That's at about a 4.9 years to pay that back, and they're going to owe $7,839 to do that, okay? So if we look at our debt totals, all right? Now, this debt here, these two are excluding the mortgage, okay? So to pay these back, we're going to be spending $80,976, okay? So that is what they're going to pay back for just these loans here, right? In lines and loans in black, okay? And so our payment, the $8,296, does include this mortgage though. So that does include it. And then here we have our totals, okay? So we have $250,889. Again, that is excluding this. Okay, so that is what the payback amount is. All right, again, not including the mortgage. So with the mortgage, if you guys want to take a look at it with the mortgage, look at all these debts together. All right, this is a hefty total, right? It's almost $1 million. They owe almost $1 million with their mortgage. So 840, 722, and over here 823, 248. Look at that. I want you guys to take a really good look at that. There is about a little less than 20,000 separating those two, isn't there? And the reason being, again, is the mortgage and the mortgage payback amount, because these mortgages are front end load everything. This is why we get out of the mortgages. Your interest rate on a mortgage is front end loaded. That means that your interest that you pay in the first few years, and I'm going to show you the schedule, their actual schedule, okay? We're going to show you this. And we'll go to year 2 because that was when they purchased the home. So if you look at year 1, or full year 1, we'll call it. It's technically year 2, but the full year. All right, in the beginning of their mortgage, they spent $37,965 in interest alone, okay? Their principal amount, the amount that was paid towards their principal, was $7,614. Your loans, these mortgages and loans are all front end loaded like this, so you're paying the majority of your interest up front and first, okay? So that means the balance then at this point in time was $623,292, all right? Again, your interest here, the next year, year 3, $37,485. The principal amount paid is $8,094. As you can see, the amount going towards principal is going up as you move down. And as you can see, the interest rate, right, is moving down. I'm sorry, the amount paid to interest, I should say, is coming down also, all right? So it's coming down. You're paying less in interest, but you're paying more in principal here. That's why I say they have an inverse relationship, right? So that's what I mean by that. Now, these schedules here, okay, and this student loan, again, going back and talking about our student loans over here, right? When you look at these student loans, all right, and you look at the fact that it's 25 years to pay them back, do you know that some of these student loans, in the first 2 years, you're allowed to have this wonderful student loan, but you're going to pay nothing but interest for the first 2 years on some of them. So think about that. So you guys you have the student loan, but you're just paying interest and nothing else, knowing that you're going to have to pay the whole thing over time. Get out of that. Find a way to get out of that, right? They're doing that. That's exactly what they're doing, and that's what we're doing with them. Okay, so we are going to start here, okay, with our home equity line of credit, and we are taking care of the home equity loan and the American Express because that is what we feel safely, that we can safely fit on this. I don't want to take them all the way up to the 122. I want to leave them with some breathing room just in case, right? For an oh shiznit moment of some sort, let's give them some breathing room and leave them some cash on hand if need be, all right? So if you add these two together, it's going to equal 110,275. Now, because this is a home equity line of credit, we are allowed to put our entire income into it, aren't we? So that's what we're doing. We're putting our entire income into this line of credit, which is the 13,462, which drops our balance immediately to 96,813. All right. And now, and I talk about this all the time, why velocity banking works. It's that income in and our expenses going out, dropping our average daily balance, right? Because that's how these lines are figured, is that average daily balance. Okay, so each day that goes by, whatever the balance is, you're calculated on that balance. So when you put a chunk deposit, all right, a chunk of your income, let's say, direct deposit onto that line of credit, you are immediately dropping your balance, which immediately drops your interest rate, doesn't it? So then slowly throughout the month, you're going to have these expenses come back in, okay? And they're going to be a little bit here and a little bit there and a little bit here and a little bit there until the end of the month, okay? So you're going to leave that balance as low as possible, okay, until the next statement cycle cuts. And that's ideally when you want to put more of your charges through is towards that end. So you have less that is going to be on that line for the month, okay, holding it down as long as possible. So now we have our high balance, we have our low balance here, okay? And so we need to figure out our interest rate for the month in order to figure out how to run our plan, right? So identify, you guys, part of our strategy is to identify our debt weapon, our debt, what debt tool we're going to use, and our plan. We have to know if this plan is going to work, and we also have to know how long that plan is going to run, okay? So when we've gotten to this stage and we've identified what we're doing, we know that doing it this way is going to take 28 years to fully take care of these two debts, but we're only running it to 26, and I'll get there in just a second. Okay, so we've got our high balance, we've got our low balance. You add those two together. Remember, we're trying to figure out our interest. So you add these two together, and it's going to come up with a big number, right? So, all right, let's just do it because why not? Why not, right? Okay, so 110, 275 plus the 96, 813 equals 207, so $207,088. And then we're going to divide that by 2. So our average is 103, isn't it? So it's 103,544. And the video I did the other day talks about these two averages and how much your interest will drop. Okay, so our average is 103,544. Now we have to take this number and we have to multiply it by our interest rate. And we know that it's 1075. So I'm going to multiply that by 0.1075. And that gives me 11,130 for the entire year. We don't want the entire year, do we? We want 1 month. So we're going to divide that by 12. And that is hopefully, and it is, what I get. All right. So we know that our interest for the month is $927. We know that our expenses are $9,463. And our balance then is down to $107,203. Now, how did I get the $94.63? How did I get that? Well, I have to take and back out, remember, the home equity loan and the American Express, because we took care of those loans, right? We took care of them by putting them inside of this line of credit. But we don't owe anything for the line of credit now either, because we are satisfying any payment, and this one is interest only, by the way. We are satisfying any payment by putting our income in, so we don't owe it, all right? So what we do then is we're going to take our total expenses of $11,797, and I am going to subtract out the $19.79 for the home equity loan, and I'm going to subtract out the $355 for my American Express, which gives me the $94.63. Okay, so that's how I'm coming up with my expenses that I have. All right, so we're going to run this down, right? We're going to run this strategy, and we know that it takes actually 28 months. However, in the 26th month, we are going to do something different. We are then going to pull in our car balances in the 26th month because we're trying to get back all this cash flow. We're trying to hurry things along for them so that they can destroy that mortgage. Okay, that's what they're looking to do. So it takes, in the 26th month, we know that the balance is about $24,625. And at this point, we are then pulling in these car loans. So we are going to have a new balance, okay? When you add in car loan 1, car loan 2, and the American Express HELOC combined total, which we're left with $24,625, right? $24,625, okay? So we add them together and we're getting, all right, so you can see this, we're getting $69,579. And I'm leaving this here for a reason. Okay, so we're at 26 months, we have to bring some things over, right? So we're bringing over these two, the home equity loan and the American Express. But in that time frame, remember, this is where you're going out to your calculators and you're seeing how much interest you've paid in this time frame that you're working these down, and these are still being spent, right? You're still paying on them, you're still spending interest on them, all right? So now we know that car 1, we are at a balance of $22,434 after this 26 months, or at this 26 months, I should say. And we have spent now $4,234 in interest of the $7,753, all right? Same thing with car 2, all right? Car 2 is at $22,520, and we have spent in interest $3,425. We've still spent that. So we have to account for it, don't we? Now, we know that this is our balance, and we have spent in interest over the 26 months for these two debts, $14,325. So we can't just ignore that either. It has to be added in. So we add it in. All right. So when we do this, okay, so here's what we get. Now, here's what we get. Oh, shoot. This is 21,984. Okay. All right. So what we get here is, okay. So now at this point we have 26,000, or I'm sorry, 26,000. We have 26 months. So we're at 26 months, and we at this point are going to bring in car 1 and car 2 plus the balance, the leftover balance from the American Express and home equity loan. It's not lock. I should have put loan there. I did not. All right. So that means you're going to have a total of $69,579. That is what the total of these, these two, the two cars and what's left over on that home equity line of credit. All right. So 69,579. Now we run that down another 11 months. Okay. So we run that down 11 months, and we get to, and we have to add in another $3,583, okay, which means that the total that we have spent on the car loans, right, and this, so these here, the total that we've spent is, let's see, $25,567. Remember the 21 from these three here, plus now the 11 months that it took us to finish this out. Okay, so $35,83. Now, it didn't take very long to take care of $69,000 because they have a lot of income, right? And they got a lot back to them in cash flow. So if we take a look at, that debt, okay, so 25,000, right? So 25,567 is what we have paid. So the 25,567 just covers, okay, these right here, okay? So these ones here, did I mark them over here? I didn't. Okay, it just covers these here, right? Because we haven't taken care of that student loan yet, all right? So we haven't done that. So if you add that up, all right, so if we take the 77.53 and we add the 51.86 and we add the 20,687 and then we add the 78.39, we get 41,465. Okay, so 41,465 in just these debts here. And it took us, right, 25,567 instead of the 41,465. So if I take and subtract off the 25,567, that means we've saved about $16,000 in just running it this way. Now, we still have a student loan out there, okay? And if we run the student loan by itself and do nothing else, all right, then we're going to add another $2,077 onto that student loan, okay? So we're going to add $27,644, okay, is going to be our grand total. And that means you save even more, right? Because we know the $39,511 then gets added in, all right? So that means our savings is going to be even larger. But at this point, these guys are going to do something different. They are now going to take the student loan amount and they are going to add $40,000, because they are going to take $40,000 and they are going to slap it against this mortgage. All right. So what does that do for them? And why would they want to do that? Well, obviously they want to do it because they want to get rid of this, right? They want to pay a lot less than $700,000 in interest for their mortgage. All right. So when they do that, here's what happens. First of all right, it takes them, and let me get my numbers here. Okay, so first of all, so the total amount that they're going to then have is obviously going to be the $56,126 plus we add $40,000. So they're going to start with $96,162. All right, so if I erase this, let's do that really quickly so we can show you where we're at. All right. And let's grab the black marker. So we've got 96,162, right? So 96,162 is our starting point because we're taking 40,000 from that home equity line of credit and we are going to slap it against this mortgage, okay? So if we do that, this is what it looks like. Okay, so we've got that. We're going to subtract the 13,462. Well, let me find my purple marker, right? So what is it? 13,462. All right. So 13,462. All right, we're going to subtract that out. Okay, so that means that our first, so 96,162 minus the 13,462 equals 82,700. All right, so 82,700, right? 82,700, we all agree. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to subtract out our chargeable expenses, all right? So our chargeable expenses at this point are 72, what is it, 72.99, I believe. 72.99. Yep, they are. Okay. Except we're not really subtracting those out, are we? We're actually adding them back in. You got to add them back in because they come out during the month. So the next thing we have to do is then figure our interest. All right. So our interest is going to be 801. All right. So this is going to be 801. So we've got the interest that comes back in, we've got the expenses that come back in, and we have our dropped down balance, okay? So that means we're starting the month off at, let's see, 90. Okay, all right. So again, we take our high balance, we take our low balance, right? Add them together. You got to multiply by that interest rate. That gives us the 801 for the month. Here are the expenses, right? Because now we can get rid of all of these, right? We don't have any of these anymore. So these are all gone. We still have to pay our mortgage payment. Okay, so that's still coming out. But the rest of that, the rest of the chargeable expenses, so those are gone now. So that's where we're getting the 72.99. All right. So we've dropped our balance to 90,800. So how long does it take to do this? How long do you guys think it takes? It only takes them 15 months, okay? 15 months to do this, and they spend in interest, let's see, what do they spend in interest on that? Oh, let's see, I forgot. Okay, so 67.64, all right? 67.64 is what they spend in interest. All right, now let's take the 67.64 and let's think about this. So we put $40,000 on our mortgage, right? So here we are. We're at this point, let's see, we are a few years in. Okay, so we're at 589,833. So if we start here and we slap $40,000, that means we're going to end up right here at 5,049,388. Okay, so that's where they're going to end up. So they have skipped now 1, 2, 3, and like 3/4 years. All right, 3 3/4 years. And so this I calculated at 25,994 this in between year. All right. So what does that look like then? What does that look like? Well, here's what $40,000 did for these people. All right, $40,000. They now have saved 35,87, 35,244, 35,244, 34,593, 34,593 plus 25,994. Okay. So in one move, $40,000 in 15 months, they have saved themselves $131,000, $131,688 to be exact. But we have to subtract the $6,764, don't we? Because we did spend that in interest while simultaneously slapping this down. Okay, so we did do that. So what does that mean then? Where do they end up? Well, let's look at it. So to do this in total, right? So we've got 131,688 minus now our 6,764. So we've saved 124, almost 125, because it's 124,924. So $125,000 in one move over 15 months. You continue to do this. If they continue to do this and they slap money down like that, okay, another 40,000. So another 40,000 takes them somewhere down here, right? So they're going to be skipping again another 30, 60, 90, almost another $100,000. So do you see how quickly, when you learn how to do your banking a different way, using velocity banking, using the tools at the bank, right? The tools that are right at your fingertips. When you do that, you are going to save yourself a ton of money. That $742,000 is going to be halved, if not more. Okay, I'd have to run the numbers to finish it out for you, but I just really wanted to show you what this does for them. Okay, you guys can do this. You just have to have cash flow. You have to start with cash flow. You can run it all together and you can run it all down just like they did. Okay, and it took them what? To get to the point where they can start working on their mortgage, 11 months plus the 26. So what is that, 37 months? Is that right? Yeah, 37 months. So it took them 37 months to get to the point where they could go ahead and start slapping this down, but it was worth it. It was worth it for them to get to that point, right? And so that's what I want to show you guys. You can do this. You can use velocity banking and you can save yourself on your mortgage and you can save yourself wealth, right? So that you can grow the money that you would be spending in interest. Instead, you can grow it in other ways. Think about all the things you could do with that money. Think about all the vacations you could go on. Or shoot, if you just want to save it, that's okay too. A nest egg is always a great idea. So, moral of this is, right, use velocity banking, save yourself a heck of a lot of money, learn a different way to bank, and as always, you guys, we're here for you. If you need us, if you want our worksheets, just send us an email, info@paydowndebtsolutions.com. Be happy to send you those worksheets. I hope this has been, eye-opening for you. I hope you've figured and learned some different things today. Have an awesome day, you guys. Happy Mother's Day, and I'll see you soon.